My name is Perianne and I am the president and founder of the newly formed Chamber of Digital Commerce. We launched on July 19th at the Chicago conference, the North American Bitcoin Conference. We've only had our doors open for a couple of weeks, but we've already got our hands full with a number of initiatives. We're a trade association, which is a member organization. We represent the digital currency industry among government and among the larger public. We're DC based. I formerly worked on Capitol Hill for a member of the Financial Services Committee, so my background is in financial and economic regulation. And as someone that had been involved in the Bitcoin industry for a couple of years, I saw the need for an organization on the ground in DC to work with public policymakers to ensure that they have accurate information when they regulate. And I do understand that within this community we have a couple schools of thoughts on how to approach government. We have those who believe that nothing good can come from working with the government, and they think the government's corrupt, and we appreciate those opinions. And there's also those who want to embrace regulation to help speed up mainstream adoption. Our job is to just make sure public policymakers have accurate information. At the end of the day, regulators regulate, and the laws and the rules and the regulations that come from government will greatly define the scope and the direction that the industry moves. So we want to make sure they have accurate information so we can continue to protect the Bitcoin protocol, so to encourage innovation and further growth of the industry. And what I really want to talk about today is BitLicense. Can we just show a number of hands of who's familiar with BitLicense? Okay, so everybody seems pretty familiar. Those within the Bitcoin community are pretty focused on what's going on in New York right now. So on July 17th, the New York Department of Financial Services introduced BitLicense, which was the most comprehensive state-level regulations for the digital currency industry. And after going through these regulations with a fine-tooth comb with a number of experts, we have decided that they are very bad for small business and entrepreneurship and startups. They potentially could crush the industry. They have wide-reaching effects. They will affect all 50 states. They will also have international implications. And we are doing everything we can to get the New York Department of Financial Services to give the industry more time to further work on these regulations to get something that better works for our industry. We do believe that Ben Lawsky wants to see regulation that will help the industry. We just want to work with him to make sure that's what we're getting. So he's made statements that they want to put up guardrails to protect consumers and also address terrorist financing. So there's a number of AML, anti-money laundering, and KYC, know your customer laws in place here that they're looking to put forward on the industry. Unfortunately, these regulations were very broad-based, and they will affect small businesses more than they would the larger companies. So that's a huge concern to us, because as a very new industry, small businesses and startups are really what's driving the growth here. So there's a couple of ways of how you can get involved with BitLicense, and we've provided a number of resources on our website. The most important one is we have a petition up on digitalchamber.org. The petition simply states is addressed to Ben Lawsky. It says, please extend the comment period through the end of the year to allow the industry more time to set forward additional proposals for what BitLicense rules and regulations should look like. We have about 150 signatures as of this morning, and earlier this week we got a call from one of our attorneys saying that the New York Department of Financial Services had called one of our attorneys and specifically asked about our petition and asked about the chamber. So we do have their attention at this point, and which is encouraging. We have not been given confirmation if they are going to extend the comment period, but this would be a very positive thing for the industry. They only gave 45 days to comment. It's 40 pages of regulations that are very wide-reaching. We do not see 45 days as adequate time for the industry to respond to these. So we're trying to get more time so the industry has a chance to put forth alternative proposals to what these kind of regulations should look like. The next thing you can do is submit comments. So again, the comment period is just 45 days. It ends on September 6th, so we only have a couple weeks left. But the more people that express their opinions, the better. And as someone that used to work in a congressional office and used to answer these phone calls and these emails for members of Congress, your voice really does make a difference. And when we have people writing in or calling in, expressing their concerns, that will help with buying us a little bit more time to make sure we get this right. Another thing you can do is express your opinion in the media. So we are encouraging people to write op-eds and opinion pieces in their local papers or whatever media resources they have available. It's important for the public to understand what's going on here, because what comes out of New York will be likely copied throughout the other 49 states. It also might be replicated on a federal level and internationally as well. The United States is the global financial leader, and there's many countries that are waiting for the United States to put forth their regulations for digital currency, and then they will copy that. This has happened over and over again in other financial industries within the United States. So it's very important that we get this right, because BitLicense will set the tone for what digital currency regulation will look like going forward here in the States and abroad. We've also issued a call to action. So on August 29th, that's a Friday, we are inviting the digital currency industry to come to Washington, D.C. We'll be organizing a congressional education day. If you'd like to express your concerns to your member of Congress on BitLicense, we will schedule congressional meetings for you to participate in this event, and we're also raising a few jurisdictional concerns. A number of members of Congress have expressed that they see jurisdictional issues with BitLicense. The New York Department of Financial Services could possibly be usurping their jurisdiction into federal jurisdiction. So there are several members of Congress who are working with us to ask the New York Department of Financial Services to slow down with publishing BitLicense until they can go through the federal and state implications of these laws to make sure we don't have a patchwork of inconsistencies between state and federal laws. And that also will buy us a little bit more time to make sure that New York gets this right. So with that, I will open it up for questions. Yeah, right here.
Well, how could they get it right? The license, doesn't the license just mean that you have permission? Why do New York give you permission to do it?
Well, you can do anything you want, but you might go to jail.
Okay, well, what are we, so you're just talking about letting them give more time, but what do you mean by?
So one of the biggest...
How could a bit license ever be right?
Well, one of the biggest problems, at the end of the day, regulators are going to regulate, and the New York Department of Financial Services is going to introduce a bit license. They're going to do that. There's no stopping them at this point. So we want to make sure that the regulations that come out make sense. The regulation process for this was done hastily and speedily. This was documented by the Wall Street Journal. They wrote an article that they rushed through this process. In addition, they put forward proposals that are 40 pages long and then only gave us 45 days to comment. That's not adequate time. So if we can have more time to go through this in detail, we might get something that works a little bit better. And one thing that we're looking at is using the blockchain to do a lot of the transparency issues that they're looking to do. So Ben Lossey's biggest concern is terrorist financing. So they want to make sure that everybody is AML and KYC compliant. What's so amazing about this technology is that we have a public ledger that brings more transparency than the current bit license. So one proposal we'll be looking to bring forward, if they do give us the time to do so, is showing them how we can use the blockchain to reach these concerns. So that would be a lot more efficient than what they have in place and could help make sure that startups and entrepreneurs still can enter the marketplace.
Yeah, but still, define as terrorists. It's like a bank.
Well, we just want to make sure that we are AML. They want to make sure we're AML and KYC compliant. And if we can let the industry decide that as opposed to a bureaucrat, we might get better results. Right here.
Two-part question. First part is, has there been any successful engagement with New York representatives and senators yourself? Those
So he asked, have we been engaged with New York representatives and senators, correct?
Right, yeah, those
Right.
who are elected could put pressure on that.
So we do think the New York delegation is the right group to contact on the Hill because bringing congressional scrutiny from the same delegation could have a very strong impact, and that absolutely is something we're looking at. And we'll have more updates on that in the next couple of weeks of who exactly will be getting involved in those discussions.
Excellent. The second part of the question was, one step in this process, following the release of the proposal, was that they had to address the New York Labor Board with concerns, or they had to actually, by law, they're required to present an impact to entrepreneurs and small businesses. When they presented to the Labor Board, they presented a document that simply stated they don't need to do that impact statement based on their assessment. It's a physical assessment. So has there been any success in obtaining documents from NYDFS, their assessment, their justification for not providing the Labor Board with that required document or that required assessment? Is anybody going down that path with the Labor Board? Because I know the Labor Board is more than likely offended if they don't receive that requirement. So somebody there probably wants that back.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. He's asking about the labor board and their involvement in this, and they have their own concerns that they want to express. The more agencies, departments, voices, industries that we have expressing concerns with how bit license can affect their different industries or where they're regulating from, the better. So if we are able to get an extended comment period, that would be another avenue we'd like to explore. Right now we only have a couple of weeks left. We're doing everything we can with the resources that we have. But again, that's why we need more time, because there's more people that are at stake here. There's more industries that are going to be impacted by this, and we need to make sure that it's done right or the best as possible to ensure that we're not hurting startups, we're not hurting entrepreneurs, we're not hurting other industries, we're not hurting other businesses. We want to make sure our economy can continue to grow and we can continue to provide more jobs. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
So, you said about using the blockchain to make sure that these errors. So is that going to talk about whitelisting or what have you whitelisting?
So this is
Whitelisting coins. So that-
white and black coins.
Right. So New York is like, well, in New York you can use Bitcoin, but you can only use coins that we color will be approved. Is that what you're talking about? Is that a right way to do the license?
So, privacy is a huge concern with a lot of people in the industry. Financial privacy is extremely important, and we've actually partnered with another organization called Free Banking, which promotes financial privacy. It is a concern because the blockchain is extremely transparent, and governments obviously have an interest in knowing what's going on. They want to prevent terrorist financing and other things. And what exactly that looks like, I'm not sure yet. This is a discussion that we're looking to facilitate. This is a discussion we need to have, a very serious, a very hard conversation the community is going to have. Exactly how we're going to pull that off hasn't been determined yet, and that's why we need an extended comment period. We need more hearings. We need more industry input on exactly what this looks like. The experts in this field need to be involved to explain to public policymakers and to the regulators what's the best way to move forward. So these are concerns that are extremely important. Given more time, we can flesh them out a little bit better. Okay, and with that, well, any other over here?
So it looks like the current proposal of BIPAS is just copy and paste from existing regulations and regulations. Do you think that Ben Lawson's office just doesn't get it, despite the gigs that they had in January? Just forget it.
I think he stole one of my quotes. I think I've said before, it kind of looks like they copied and pasted AML and then just called it a bit license. This is a big concern because AML was first proposed in 1970 with the Bank Secrecy Act of 1970, before the internet was even created. And they're expecting a technology that solely exists and was created on top of the internet to be able to comply with something that was made for brick and mortar banks. So this is why it's important to have organizations like the Chamber of Digital Commerce that can go in to government and make this a priority. So we're still an extremely small industry. Our market capitalization is under $8 billion. And we're competing with industries that are trillions and trillions of dollars. So it's important that we have industry representation to demand that we are a priority when it comes to regulators' time. Because when they want to regulate, we want to make sure they spend accurate time getting it right. I have talked to a number of people that were involved in the process that testified at the hearings and worked with the New York Department of Financial Services in deciding what the bit license is going to look like. And he asked, are they just not paying attention at all? Or are they just not listening to anything the industry is saying? I mean, I don't know because I wasn't there, but this is why we need more time, because it looks like they didn't quite get it, that they don't have a full understanding of the technology. I mean, one of the biggest concerns is the regulations make no distinction between digital currencies and digital assets. And without making that distinction, then they're just issuing regulations indiscriminately, so very broad-based. For technology-based regulation, we need something that's very narrow and targeted. And we were successful during the early stages of the internet. There's no reason why we can't do this for Bitcoin as well. So this is why we need more time.
So, am I correct? You said that it's a member-driven organization.
We are a trade association, so we are composed of industry members, yes. We do have an application process. Well, we just need to make sure that the people that we are working with are dedicated to building this industry in a high integrity way. So there is a little bit of a filtration process to make sure that we're working with ethical people. But other than that, we welcome everyone to be a part of this.
And then the members decide the direction of the best.
Yeah, we have a process. I mean, our members do have to take a pledge that we are committed to building the industry, not necessarily the interest of any one segment or a fraction of the economy, but making sure that the digital currency industry is promoted and protected. Okay, thank you very much.